Rex Kwando, we use the buddy system. No more flying solo. You need somebody watching your back at all times. Second off, you're gonna learn to discipline your image. Do you think I got where I am today because I dress like Peter Pan here? Take a look at what I'm wearing, people. Do you think anybody wants a roundhouse kick to the face while I'm wearing these bad boys? Forget about it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another week of Muskies on Tap. Here, bringing to you a recap of our midsummer Muskie Bender weekend. The boys, we were able to get out in the boat together for a long weekend of just good old-fashioned muskie hunting, fishing hard, fishing a lot, putting some fish in the bag. We had a blast out there. We'll also be doing a little bit of a talk about Tonka, upcoming PMTT this weekend. This podcast will be coming out the day before first day of the tournament, because in Minnesota, the tournament rules are only not two back-to-back tournament days, so it's a Friday, Saturday event. But anyways, let's get into who we got on here tonight. We're missing one, but we got a +1. And we, at this point, you know, he's he's basically Mott Crew now at this point, I think. And I'll introduce him. We got Clayton Spies back on. He joined the boat on Friday and Thursday night of fishing this past weekend. So Clayton, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Little little tired, a little sore from the weekend and rolling right into the week and a little bit of guiding in league for a couple nights, but I don't know. At some point I feel like my muscles have just gotta get used to it, and hopefully the pain goes away and it starts feeling good again, but so far it hasn't happened.
I'm with you there. I always think that it just feels like they should be used to it by now, but no, everything hurts. That weekend didn't help exactly.
It was worth it though.
Oh, big time, big time. But other Mott Crew member here on tonight that we got is none other than my brother Max. Max, how you doing tonight?
Good. I second that, Clayton. I felt like I got hit by a bus when I woke up on Monday morning. I'm not in great musky shape this summer. I mean, I haven't thrown it down like that since probably Madison. Um, but yeah, I mean, to keep traditions alive, it's late here on a Tuesday night. I decided to crack open a beer, sipping on an Anomaly passion fruit sour ale. Get at me in the DMs and make fun of me if you want. It was the only thing in the fridge. And I just wanted to keep.
Sours are good.
Yeah, they're good. I got the tropical beach background here on the Zoom tonight. Just wanted to liven up the mood on this late Tuesday evening. But doing good. It was a great weekend. You know, I couldn't have been happier with getting out with you fellas. I had so much fun. I mean, Gus, I think you summed it up well. It was just a good old fashioned musky hunt type weekend where, you know, it was really Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday up until I had to leave, where we were just pretty much fishing the whole time, you know, sleeping a few hours every night, getting up and doing it again. And as beat up as I was Sunday afternoon, I texted you guys Sunday night. I'm like, man, I am just going through it right now, but there's nothing else nothing I'd give to just get up tomorrow and do it all again. So
For sure.
it was just a great weekend. And man, I was floating on that car ride home up until I had a little bit of an eventful couple minute stretch there, Clayton. I didn't even tell you about this, but as I was coming out of the landing road and getting on some county roads, I ended up actually smoking a deer.
What?
And yeah, it was luckily not luckily for the deer, but luckily for me, it was a smaller one. And you know, I had no time to react. I was probably going 55 or so. This thing just shot out in front of me, and it you know, I wouldn't say I clipped it. I mean, it felt like I smoked it pretty good, and that thing just freaking went sailing 30 feet up in the air into the woods. So
Oh,
somehow, some way, shape, or form, my car is totally fine. It was just wild. I'm sitting there just smiling ear to ear, you know, after the Sunday kind of cherry on top of the sundae, if you will, that we had on Sunday. And I just couldn't have been happier. Next thing you know, I had this little Bambi runs out in front of the car and just kind of got real close to screwing up the day pretty bad, but got home safe. Few days of rest here before we hit it hard again this week with Tonka coming up. I'm pretty excited to have you guys get over to the cities here and see what we can find over the next few days. I mean, what initial reactions heading in the tournament? I'll start with you, Clayton. What's your thoughts kind of going into it?
I think honestly, I hadn't thought about it much, which is probably a little unfortunate because I don't feel like I'm prepared at all for it. I didn't do any recon, any research on it. We're gonna go into it blind, kind of do some graphing around. I know that the story of Tonka and how many fish are out there and the beautiful deep weed edges and kind of what to look for and what should work out there. So I feel like we could probably hopefully find some fish anyways. We can get them to eat. That's a whole nother game. But yeah, I'm excited to get there. Another new body of water. We love exploring new water, so kind of why we started doing this in the first place, Nick and I. So yeah, there's excitement. There's a little bit of nerves. We need fish if we want to fish championship, so we need to catch one. But yeah, looking forward to it. Getting all together again.
I feel like there's a little bit of apprehension behind the Tonka tournament just because it's another metro lake.
Yeah, I'm not real happy about that. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if we'll do this next year if it's all metro again and stuff. They're gonna have to make some changes. We'll see what happens. We're not making any shots right now as far as what we're gonna do and what we're not gonna do, but I don't know. There's a few things that are getting a little stale, and at some point we might just decide to take some extra fun fishing trips rather than these tournaments. But yeah, enjoy it while we're doing it for sure. Make the best of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it could be a little bit treacherous out there if the weather kind of stays what it is, just solely out of boat traffic. I mean, we had Greg Thomas on last week, and he made mention of he had some success at Tonka the last few times it's went there. There's a lot of fish to be had, and really the only downfall to that system is the boat traffic. So yeah, I think getting out there Friday morning, it shouldn't be too bad. But man, I would assume that place is going to light up pretty good by about 10 a.m.
It's gonna get super busy, huh? You think?
Yeah,
Or what?
I think so. Without any rain or anything to keep them off, to keep the pleasure boaters away, they'll be out in full force that Friday and Saturday. Luckily the tournament hours are a little bit more conducive to getting some really solid hours of fishing in prior to that all happening. So I don't know. I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised in a way when you get down here and get out on the water. It definitely has some metro feelings towards it just because of the boat traffic and obviously a lot of the shorelines are filled with the mega mansions and everything like that, but it fishes really cool. I've enjoyed the few times I've gone out there and been able to explore. There's just so much to fish. So I think as far as going into a new lake, it's kind of that part of it's really fun because you just got a lot to digest in a short amount of time. And that's kind of what you said, we like one of the main reasons we like doing this stuff is exploring new water and facing the challenge. So I don't know. I think it'll be fun.
Cool. I like your thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Gus? What are your feelings heading into Tonka here this week?
I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm excited to get back to Minnesota again. It's been since Vermilion last year on fishing after some spotted fish, the big leechers. And I'm hey Nick.
Nick's waving like what do you call him? Forrest Gump over there. So he just jumped in the garage here. We're getting loaded up right now. So don't
Nice.
don't
Hey,
mind the
Nick.
extra noise.
All right. No worries.
Sounds good. Yeah, I gotta get rolling on packing here. It's leaving Wednesday morning, but I don't know. I mean, Max and I have discussed quite a bit. Max has been able to get out a few times. I've still never been on Tonka. I've never had our boat on Tonka. And from the sounds of it, we got our somewhat work cut out for us to graph some stuff and maybe find some fish potentially, but really just trying to get these fish to eat because of how pressured the lakes, all the bays in the entire lake are and how much boat traffic there is. And seems like finding the fish might not be as much of a task as you'd think it would be for muskies, but getting them to eat seems like the tough one. And I'm looking ahead at the forecast. It looks like both days are, somewhat southeast winds or something like that. Maybe it's Saturday and 80. 80 and 86 are the highs and the lows are 66 and 64. So fairly warm, but it's windy. I don't know what the water temps are there. I haven't heard anything. If you guys have heard anything as of like now or lately, I was meaning to
Heard,
text people that were
heard
down.
yeah, heard mid to low 70s, but that was a handful of days ago. But it's stayed relatively stagnant here. I mean, every day has been between, it feels like 78 and 82. It's cold, it's chilly-ish in the mornings, and
Hmm.
it's got that like late summer feel to it. Even with the highs being in the 80s, it really just kind of peaks out a little bit during like the late afternoon, but
What?
it's in the mid to low 70s most of the morning, mid-morning. So like during actual tournament hours, I don't think we're gonna get that like terrible scorched earth heat. Too
No,
bad.
I'm looking at the ahead schedule. It's gonna be 80 on Friday and 86 on Saturday. But then after that, the highs are 90, 89, 86.
Yeah, we
So,
dodged that. That was a big time lucky dodge there. I mean, that could have been
That
mhm.
would,
miserable.
And it's gonna,
yeah.
yeah, that would be no fun. And it's gonna be somewhat warm here too in Eagle River area. This morning was freaking cold, man. It was like low to mid 40s for a good chunk of time this morning, and it doesn't look like you got that over in Minnetonka at all, but it was cold.
Mm. No, I mean I went out for a little jog this morning. It was
Nice.
it wasn't super hot. It felt good. It felt bitey out today. It was cloudy. I haven't talked to anybody who went out and pre-fished today. I did hear from somebody that the landings were completely juiced. So that's
Mm.
something to keep an eye on and play a little bit of the landing game if you're getting there outside of the morning window. A lot of people are launching on Tonka every single day, and there's multiple launches, but I mean, some of them are pretty big and can handle a lot of traffic and whatnot, but they get filled up pretty fast. So, um, yeah,
Great.
that'll
That
Oh,
sounds like a
can't
night.
wait.
You're kind of making it sound like a nightmare. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine. But yeah, I guess we'll
Uh-huh.
just see when you guys get into town tomorrow. You guys, I'm sure you'll get in probably sometime in the afternoon. So that'll be a good gauge on just how crowded it is out there.
We will see. Definitely not looking forward to that part of it. But anyways, that's I think probably all that we got to cover for pre-PMTT because we're not even down there yet, and we'll
Right.
have all the deets on afterwards. And I think quickly before we also go into our Bender weekend recap, we should quickly touch on the National Championship Musky Open that was just held here in
Yeah, yeah.
centralized in Eagle River at the county fairgrounds. And there was some tankers caught. It's 3 over 50. I don't think I've ever seen
Three?
anything over 50.
Three?
Yep. Yep. I'm pretty positive.
I
Whoa.
thought it was the 50 and a quarter and the 51 and a half.
I heard there was another 50.
Big
So,
another 50. Nick just confirmed another 50 on Big Arb.
yep.
Wow.
Big Arb and Big
Jeez.
Sand had the 50s. So, some
Wow.
big old fish and got to give a shout out to our buddy Kyle Anderson with his 50 and a quarter. Sent us a message that morning of Friday.
Let's go.
Juicy weather, juicy weather. We're out
Shout
there.
out.
At that
Shout
time, it
out.
was shout out Clayton, Max, Brian, and I fishing. and I don't think we even raised one yet. And we sitting there, and I get a text from Kyle, and it's like, check this beauty out. And it's a mega, super mega, mega. And then like an hour later, he's like, yeah, another person that I know here got a 51.5. So those two giant fish were caught the same morning within an hour of each other on two different parts of the lake.
That's crazy.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
awesome. Just music to our ears. I mean, obviously it'd be great to be the one that catches it, but like to hear that those fish were available last weekend and being caught is so cool. I mean, like you said, Gus, I don't know if you said that you had not heard of a 50
In the championship
that was
open
registered
thing.
on that tournament before. So seeing that there's 3 caught this year after all the big fish you guys have put in the bag. Clayton, as a former past champion of the National Musky Championship tournament, what do you make of that? Three fish over 50 caught. I think there was a 49 too. So right there.
Yeah, I mean that's insane. That's awesome. That's just kind of proves that the Vilas County area, this northern Wisconsin, is a great fishery. I don't know where these fish go most of the time.
Would that be
There
nice to
is
know?
there's some kind of a pattern going on though. Like if you haven't noticed it by now, you're missing out. Big fish are going this year, and especially up in this area. And if you're not getting out every chance you get, you're gonna maybe miss out on one of the coolest bites in maybe a long time. Who knows? Because I don't know if we'll ever, how long it'll be before we see a bite of what's going on here like that again. Honestly, like it's insane how many big fish there are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Just so
I
many
know.
big ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know there's long heated debate right now about the state of our fisheries and the future of them and whatnot, but just to try to be happy and live in the moment here. I mean, pretty cool to see some big fish come out of the Vilas County area. I mean, these are 200 to 2,000 acre lakes. We're not fishing leech, we're not fishing mille lacs, stuff like that over here in this neck of the woods. So see, some 51-inch plus fish come out of these bodies of water was awesome to hear. Just really cool stuff.
Yeah. Definitely don't hear about that very often. Very few 50s, but we've had those discussions already and kind of the big fish over here. But man, it's good to see. Good to see
Mhm.
out there for sure. But
So let's dive into the Muskie Bender weekend. Gus, kick us off here. Thursday
mm,
night, you and Clayton made a call to go to a certain system that was not really on our Muskie Bender list of lakes to hit. I think just kind of out of, maybe some last minute timing and whatnot and getting together. But you want to just walk, maybe you and Clayton can kind of walk the listeners through the bite window that ended up happening and how we kind of stumbled on that and just
hmm
have you seen a window like that this year? I mean, that was just insane.
Yeah. I'll start it off and then Clayton, you pick up where I where it needs to be left off. But I think it started where at the time I don't think we knew if Clayton was able to join us or not. And Max, Brian, and I had an idea to go to a lake that I don't know if Brian or Max maybe thinks so, but I used to really like, still kind of do. Don't really like it too much anymore. It gets an insane amount of pressure. It's unreal how many people go out there and fish. And we're thinking of going out there because the weather's too juicy. There was a moon phase that lined right up with sunset basically, and there's weather rolling in, the rain and all that. And we're like, all right, might as well go out there for 3-4 hours. Probably have a good shot at a fish. They actually might bite this night instead of get swarmed by 15 other musky boats and whatnot. And then out of nowhere, I was getting something done with my boat, and Max sent me a text or a call or something saying that Clayton can go out, and he was thinking about doing this one bite um, on this certain system, like Max said, to go trolling actually, specifically, and more open water. And the weather was just like what Clayton had. The one year he had really good success and wanted to kind of try and recreate that. So, Clayton, you can pick up there.
Yeah. So it's actually for it's funny how like that year we stumbled upon this bite. It was Nick, everybody knows Nick. the hammer. It was a bachelor
Hammer
party
Customs.
we were attending, and we might have let her snap a little bit the night before, so we got up early in the morning with everybody. We're stumbling out of our tents and
Early
making our
crack of
way to the.
9.
Yeah, no, it was early, probably like 7,
Oh,
maybe earlier. I don't
oh
know.
wow.
Whoa.
It was
Jeez.
early. We got up. I mean, I don't know if we really slept. Maybe passed out for a couple hours. But anyways, so we're out there and we're out fishing and we're just like looking at each other like, yeah, I feel like crap right now. And he's like, yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, I want to just go get some breakfast. And he's like, sure, why not? So we pull the boat out and we drive down the road and we find a cafe that's open and we go and get a really nice breakfast and Bloody Mary. And oh man, we're feeling a lot better. So we go and launch on another part of this chain that we were on, um, and we're out there and we're like, yeah, I'm still not really feeling like casting. I don't still not 100% yet. I'm like, let's troll. So we kind of knew of bait out in open water, and I mean, we had no idea, what we were really doing out there. We just figured, what the heck, we're gonna try some giant baits, open water. We're gonna troll for a few hours and see what happens. And I don't know, it wasn't long, and we popped our first fish probably on our first pass, and then shortly after that, got another one that was like 45 and plus or something like that. That was on some of Nick's special baits, so he was super jacked, and we ended up, catching 4, I think. Oh, yeah. So it would have been 4, but I stabbed one off. Thankfully, that was the smallest one. Let's forget about that. But anyway, yeah. So then we got 3 trolling, and I ended up with one more casting that evening. But we took the tournament. It's the little mini tournament that we had in amongst the bachelor group or whatever. So that was super cool. And we never really went back to that again. Like we kind of was like, wow, that was like super awesome, but got busy with the rest of the season and went back to our schedule after that, and never touched on it again. That was probably three years ago or something like that. So it was about the same time of the year, same weather conditions, and I've been wanting to get back out there and try that again. So I thought I'd wrangle up these guys and get as many lines as we can legally out there and see if we can find it again. And we didn't, but that's okay.
Right. And that's all right. And that's how we stumbled on something different. So we launched the boat and it was Clayton, Max, and I to start, and we rolled out of the landing and Mark won immediately in open water. We're like, oh, okay, we probably should get some lines in. And I think after that we proceeded to only mark bait, which was everywhere. I mean, the bait was definitely rolling around, but we didn't mark a single other muskie out there. And I think we gave a time limit of like 6:30 p.m. I don't know what time we got out there exactly. 4:45, 4:35.
I think it was 4:30 because we got 2
Fourth.
hours, 2 hours in or
Okay.
so.
And we didn't mark another muskie, and we're like, all right, at 6:30 we're gonna go cast. And 6:30 rolls around, we don't get anything trolling, don't mark another one. We're like, all right, might as well. This weather's perfect. While we're finishing up trolling, we had all the lines rigged up with topwater bucktails and rubber or whatever we were gonna use, and do our first pass on the windward side, and it's kind of nothing, not much going on. I think maybe side image one or two. And I got 2 bumps, probably fish hitting blades, the back blade or the front blades of a Hunsey tail banger. And they were like, okay, that's promising, I guess, and just kind of go to the next spot. This spot's kind of done. Thought it would be better than that. And we went to the next spot. And I think I started a little bit earlier than this is a spot that Clayton and I have fished before in league and found some fish and lost some fish, and I'm like, I'm just gonna start a little bit earlier so we maybe don't run right up on this weed point too quickly. And like right as I was probably about to get the words out to Max, like, all right, because I think it was from the front of the boat at that point. Like, okay, the weeds are probably gonna start now. Max hooks up. out there, out in the cast on a banger. Pulls it in, I don't know, like a low to mid 30s fish. We're pumped up. First fish of the weekend. Release that fish and 45 seconds, minute and a half at most. Max hooks up again. We're like a mid 30s fish. We're like, okay, holy shit, something's happening happening here. And I think we roll into the corner, and I want to say I got smacked on top water once or twice. I think once for sure. I know you had another one up,
Yeah, it was almost like three
two,
casts in a row. It
three
was
casts
like,
in a row. Yeah.
yeah, it was like caught the fish, released it, maybe took, I think my next cast, caught the next one,
Mm-hmm.
released it. I was kind of sharpening the hooks as you guys were casting. I think you missed one.
Hit
And
top water
then
both side.
I took another cast and got crushed out the cast and missed it. I'm like, what on earth is going on? A, how many fish are sitting on this, using this like piece of structure? And then B, like, are they just all ravenous? Like, are they just every single fish that you come across is going to eat? I think we raised another fish. And then, of course, really, really wish Brian was here to join us because this is just so typical Brian timing. He's like, hey guys, I'm at the landing. Come pick me up. As we're like
We're like, all
experiencing
right, dude.
this insane window, we're like, oh my God, if this ends in like the next 20 minutes, we're never gonna forgive ourselves. And so we go pick up Brian.
We raised another one after we got off the phone too, mind you.
Right. Yeah, we raised a nice one,
Yeah.
like, oh, we'll come back to her later. And we go pick up Brian and he's, just looking dumb at the landing, like hasn't
Typical.
musky fished since 4th of July, so he's all green, hasn't washed any baits recently. He gets in the boat and Clayton's like, hey, I've actually never fished with Brian before. And like, oh, it's a real treat, especially if he's in the two hole right behind you. He'll somehow, catch the fish if you're
Human
right in
demon
front of him.
musky vacuum sucker.
Yeah,
He just
human
sucks
demon
them all up.
musky sucks them all up. I mean, guy's just so good. It's hard to compete against them. And sure as shit, we roll into the first spot and Clayton's throwing bucktail right in front of
Well,
Brian. Brian's throwing a bucktail.
and
What were
he
you gonna
just,
say?
I was gonna say, he takes a 3 hour drive up and it hops onto the boat. And Max, after catching two fish, and we had all that insane action in like 10, 12 to 15 minutes or something like that. Max is like, all right, Brian, here you go. Here's the bucktail that has all of the action. Like, there you go, buddy.
I'm just trying to be a nice guy, help out a buddy that hasn't fished in a while. I know you guys have caught a bunch of fish, so just trying to get him engaged early on in the weekend. You know how you can get if he's not catching fish. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to give my buddy a good time. And yeah, sure as shit. We were rolling to the first spot. He hooks up with like a 42, 43-ish size, thick, tall Wisco greenie, both side in the 8. He's got no clue that this thing
It's so
was coming
dark,
in.
can't see nothing. No, he
Yeah.
didn't know he's
Yeah. Not
honestly,
that we
it's
would
just
have either.
no, nobody would have. Like,
Too
it's
funny. I
just
mean,
so dark.
it was just such a mess. And unfortunately, the fish, I think it took him by surprise a little bit as it would anybody. And, I think we were surprised at the size of, it was just a really solid fish and it ended up just going ballistic at the boat. It took him back by the back engine, made a nice leap right in front of Gus and
Yup.
shook the bait. So, I mean, the bite window was still there, obviously, it didn't turn off by any means. After that happened, we got done fishing that spot. And then Gus, do you want to tell your little, I don't know, funny
Two,
top water stories, I
the
guess.
two of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brian loses that one. The thing was peel and drag. He was using the rod with the Okuma reel, so it's got the button where you can turn on and off the clicker on it. And he accidentally put the clicker on, so that fish is peeling out line, and it sounds like it's like we were trolling, you know. I could hear the clicker going off, and then I look in the back motor, and this low 40s, maybe possibly better. At least it was a thick fish if it was low 40s for sure, and just comes straight vertical, shakes the hooks, and that we went back to the spot where we had a couple side image fish and the bumps, and we go back to this little weed point that just had the unreal amount of fish on it, where we're possibly convinced like the two fish you actually caught might have been still eating. Like or there's just literally that many fish there. And we roll up to it, start in the same spot, a little early. We get to the weeds. You and Brian Clayton or whatever the two are still casting ahead of me, whoever's taking a break,
At
whatever.
this
'Cause
point, I was just on camera because I was just like, man, I want to
yeah,
capture some of this on the big nice camera. Like I had already caught a few fish. I knew it was going to be tough to
mhm,
fish 4 wide, casting
out the
like a
same
point like
side.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we kind of so Brian and Clayton are using bucktails, and we get to where like the weeds start to come out a little bit further. And I look on the side image, and I'm already way out in the cast with top water. And I look at the side image, I'm like, oh, there's one clear as day. You guys rolled over it, but she didn't budge or nothing. And then I looked to Max, he's got the camera, and I think he's about to like click it, and I'm like, I think I'm about to go over it. And as soon as like I get that out of my mouth, this fish just goes straight vertical and shoots up like that one old like whatever today's angler video where the fish goes like multiple feet in the air at least. This is I don't
Yeah.
it wasn't a giant fish by any means. I can't put a number on it, but nothing crazy. And then I immediately Max goes, "No, I didn't start it." I'm like, "You didn't start it? I had it side image and you had the camera in your hands." And I'm like,
Still working out a few kinks, but I learned my lesson. I learned my
Come
lesson.
on, man.
I learned my
oh
lesson.
man. Yeah, and I don't know if we had more up on bucktails or not. You'd have to remind me. There's just so much going on and such a short amount of time and we roll around to the other side of the point going into the bay and there was like we were sitting more in deeper water to get to the, to still cast the edge. We're probably out in 15 as opposed to like 10 feet of water. And I look at side image to the right, to the outside, to the deep side, and there's, some wood kind of out there, and then there's this one mark where I'm like, all right, that's a little fuzzy, a little hazy, a little something maybe. It's 15, 16 feet of water. I'm like, all right, screw it. I'm not gonna like set the rod down and grab a rubber bait that I don't even know if we had one rigged up at this time because they weren't really going on that. And I just chuck a top water out there. And then Max does roll the camera. This clip was put on Instagram this Tuesday and Max goes, "All right, we're live, we're rolling." And I go, "I don't." He's like, "Don't, no pressure, Gus." And I'm like, "I don't think it's a fish though." And then I just start saying out loud, plop, 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 to make the noise of the top water. And it just comes up and totally pushes the top water. Doesn't eat it, just does this like roll or half-ass eat or whatever. If you slow it down, it hits the top water, but it just like pushes it forward. And there was at no point it actually had it in its mouth. And that was a dandy. That was a dark back. She was looked like an old war horse of a I don't know. I can't put a number on it, but it was nice. We definitely would have liked to have that one in the bag, but
Hmm.
that was pretty funny. Got that one on the main camera. Can't believe that thing just those fish were just so fired up. I think all you had to do was just get a bait in front of a fish and it was gonna come and do something, eat it, hit it. I don't know. That was
Yeah.
nuts. That was Thursday night.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously a great start to the weekend, and we'll just kind of hit some highlights throughout the rest of the weekend here real quick and maybe some takeaways on what we learned from the weekend because I think there were some pretty good lessons to kind of take away from all that time on the water this past weekend. But yeah, Friday morning we went out to a system that we've really, spent some good amount of time on, but there was a lot to fish that we hadn't gotten to yet. So we really wanted to make an effort to try to learn it a little bit better, fish some new spots, do a lot of exploring. And man, I mean, for how hot the bite was Thursday night, I think we were making some comments Friday morning that I think we've just figured all those fish had eaten on Thursday night, and they weren't really around to play anymore Friday morning. And then all of a sudden we start getting these texts from the National Musky Championship tournament from other people saying that they're catching fish. We're like, what the hell is going on? At that point in time, I think we had I think we caught Brian caught a smaller one, like a low to mid 30s fish to start the day. So it was a good start, but we really weren't seeing much as far as what we wanted to see. And some of the areas that we thought were going to be good really were not. So we kind of made a move and started to branch out pretty aggressively and fish some new stuff. And man, did it ever pay off? I mean, I guess we'll just kind of dive right into it. But later on that morning. At this point in time, we really hadn't raised anything of worth coming back to, and so I think we were a little bit down on ourselves. Clayton was slumping, actively slumping, talking about his slump. Um, we wanted.
Dude, I was in a mega slump. That's not just a slump. That was an unheard of slump.
Well, you did spend a lot of time on Green Bay, so that can happen. Yeah,
That's true.
but agreed. You were in a mega slump. We were kind of like, what the hell? Like the conditions were so good. And for whatever reason, like that those clouds broke a little bit on Friday. The sun popped out, and next thing you know, like fish were kind of coming in. And um I think I was at the time rolling through a spot with a bucktail, just a double eight, your typical shit. And like I had mentioned, we had not seen anything worth mentioning to this point that morning. And all of a sudden this big old Wisco greedy comes just hot on the bucktail. Like it was not moving slow. It was fairly far behind it, but it was pretty charged up, and it didn't want anything to do with the bucktail, didn't want anything to do with the figure eight. But we kind of just put a note in our back of our minds, like, I think that fish will eat at some point in time today.
Mhm. Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
know if we moved it at any notable time at all either,
No.
if it was just pretty random, rolling through the spot. And I think that was really the next, you know, something that actually happened on Friday for us between Brian's fish in the morning and moving that big one. And I believe the weather where we were at got pretty hot and stagnant for a little bit,
Funny.
actually. And still moving fish was kind of a task. A lot of the weekend came into a blur, but I do know not long after Clayton got his first, he broke out of the slump. Clayton, if you want to run through that one, that was a cool eat.
Yeah. So I guess I was kind of feeling down, but again, we were in an you know, area of lakes that we thought were, had potential and stuff. And, we'd moving a couple fish now. So I finally, we were getting close to lunchtime. I think I was probably had food on my mind. I don't even know what I was thinking, but I stopped doing figure eights after my cast. But I was reeling in a Hunzy tail
Oh boy,
banger.
that's when you know.
Yeah, but whatever. It doesn't matter. I guess when the fish want to eat, they want to eat. But I was throwing a Hunzy tail XL banger and just was bringing it to the boat, and I did a big L turn, and I think I was talking or something. I'm sure we were telling some dumb story, and just kind of kept the blades going, kind of slowly, really slowly, like just kind of pulling alongside the boat. And this fish comes from the bottom, like maybe not vertical on it, but up at an angle, just screaming in and just completely engulfs the bait all the way up to the blade
Jeez.
and right in front of my face. I just happened to be looking down when it happened, which was super awesome. Got a good hook set on it, and yeah, that one came in pretty well to the net. That was number one, and I broke out of a slump, and it was game on after that.
Yeah, you had to have been feeling good. It was probably still a conversation of me and Brian bitching at each other about how big we thought the fish was that I moved, because I don't
Mhm.
know if you guys have experienced this with your boat partners out there, but anytime somebody moves a big fish, I feel like it's always the guy that moves it. It's like, oh man, that was giant. And then the other guy that sees it sometimes is like, oh, I don't know. Or maybe it's just a me and Brian thing, because I tend to, I think, always lean on the larger side, where he's always like, oh no, that was like a 43, 44. And I think the fish that I moved, I was like pretty well convinced it was a 4 footer plus. Like I had never wanted to say the magical number until I see something that's like stupid big up there, because it's just so rare that it happens. But like, we're getting these text messages of people catching 50s. Like I got that in my mind, like, oh, the big fish are pushed up on structure. So like, and then you see this, double wide XL railroad tire come in behind your bucktail, and you're like, the only thing you can really think is like, well, is it close to that? It's hard to say. It was, things are moving fast. And then I think after I said that, Brian was the only other person that saw the fish. He goes, oh yeah, that was maybe 45. I'll kill you. I was like, there's no way that fish was maybe 45. I'm like, if that fish was 45, it had a 25-inch girth. Like that, there's just no way that fish was 20, 40, maybe 45 inches. So him and I were getting into about that. And then we kind of had a bunch of conversations like, well, we got to catch it now. We got to figure out what this thing goes. Cause we were just having this hilarious, heated debate up at the front of the boat between Brian and I. And lucky enough for all of us, we had Gus in the boat and he decided to get it done.
Stick it. Yeah, I got that one running the spot. I think the same exact way we ran it, you could with four guys, you can run the spots in different directions and have some people cast out, some people cast in. And I ran it the same way that Max raised it, where I run it out of that left side and I was casting out and bringing back into the structure. So I did that again. And I think the first time through, I was probably working rubber. Second time through, I was just working the old trusty Reg Dusa perch and just casting whatever. I don't think we're still at this point raising many fish. Like we just weren't overall getting like tons of follows quite yet. I don't know if was it after the fact of the big one being caught or before where we had some other hot follows in that corner, through that spot. Was that later in the day?
Yeah, I think it was before that actually.
It was before, so we had maybe fish were up and moving, and that's
We
where I
had
kind of.
we had more than just that big one up in that first pass. We had another one just a
Oh,
little
that's
bit
right.
further. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And
we
then
Right.
we were settled
and I
into the
think
day.
yeah, we were starting to move fish every time we went through there because we turned around, went back through there again. We didn't see the big one, but we raised another one, I think, that tried to
Right.
eat, and we were like, oh, that one's even different than the other two. So then we
Yeah,
knew we were onto some fish there for sure.
for sure
Mhm.
active. Yeah, it's one of those
Yeah.
things. It's like Max said, it's a big one. Came in hot. Didn't want anything to do with that bucktail, but eventually it's going to eat. So we might as well give it time. Don't want to overeducate these fish at all. That's the worst thing you can do. But you got something to add there, Max?
I
Before
just wanted to ask you. I mean, I think it's kind of the one thing maybe to take away from this learning lesson is reading fish. If you want to talk about that at all, like just reading different follows, like if you move some fish that are super lazy compared to what you would deem as like a fish that you move and be like, oh, okay, that one, is really worth spending some time on. If you know what I'm kind of getting at there.
Sure. So I mean, I didn't see the follow that Max had, but if somebody raises a fish in my boat and I don't get to see it, I'm always asking like a million questions because I do want to know exactly what that fish is doing. I want to know the mood of that fish. Like, do we have to start hammering casts right now? Maybe downsize? Do we have to maybe upsize? Do we got to rip rubber fast, or do we have to chill out, move on, put a waypoint down, and come back? And you said it was hot, but not, if that fish came up where it just showed up a couple feet behind it, came up, and then you can see the slow motion of the tail going back down, you're just like, oh, that fish is lethargic. We might
Mm-hmm.
have to come back at sunset for that one. But
Mm-hmm.
you said it was moving pretty quickly, so it's like, all right, we're close to the major if we weren't already in it, maybe. And it's like we should probably key in for that. We have incoming potential storms everywhere. The whole county was just getting blasted with storms left and right. There's dark clouds everywhere, sun, dark clouds, sun, dark. It was just in and out
Lightning.
of lightning. Yeah, we were battling all the elements this whole weekend and but yeah, anyways, going through the spot the same way that Max raised it and we get to the waypoint. I expressed to everybody, I'm looking at my GPS. I'm like, all right, we're here. We're here. These cats should do it. Nothing, nothing, nothing. We roll probably an extra 50, 80 or so feet past the waypoint. I got that rag deuce out there and I'm out. I already bombed it way out there, casted it. I'm ripping it. Probably get close to halfway back. And I think I just posted a snippet on the story. I don't have the great actual visual footage because it was so humid and rainy that morning that my lens, the polarized lens cap fogged up. Got a bunch of mist and water and stuff in it. So it made it all blurry, but you can hear me say as I'm ripping it halfway in the cast, I'm looking down at side image and I just see the big old line and just a mega shadow. And I'm like, oh, that's her. And as soon as her gets out of my mouth, she hits. And then I express one more time as I'm setting the hook even louder, oh, that's her. And she's on. And I believe Clayton said when I said, oh, that's her, both of the times, he thought I just raised it. Like I just saw it again.
Right.
But because he was facing the other way, and I think I looked back at the footage, Brian was changing bait, so he saw immediately. Go figure. Sorry, Brian, not here. Getting thrown under the bus tonight, but that's what he gets. And Max, I think you were casting the same way Clayton was. So you and Clayton didn't exactly see right away. I think Brian was the one that actually saw. Unless you maybe turned around, Max, you might have had a pretty good angle at all, possibly, and knew immediately upon hook set. It's just one of those where on the pause you could just feel, you just know that the fish ate the whole bait. I mean that fish took it down, ate it well, didn't wimp out or nothing. Um, never had to cut hooks with her, but she was thrashing and my heart was thumping and I had no idea. I was thinking some pretty big crazy things too when I saw it in the water, so I trust your judgment there, Max, on seeing that big beauty down there fighting. And she put up a good fight. Clayton got a great net under her and we got her in the bag clean and got her unhooked clean. She ate most of the bait, but we never had to cut hooks with her at all. Let her lay in the bag and sigh of relief. The first big one hit the net of the weekend. I was pretty stoked. Personally, I've had a somewhat tough season on landing big fish. I've hooked and lost quite a few now this year, and just is what it is. It happens to everybody. But I was just down on my luck. It's mid-August. I'm sitting there with no giants yet, and there she was. By northern Wisconsin standards, we'll call it very big, above average size. Don't come across them too often that big. They show up here and there, but um, I was just very happy, very relieved. Finally hit the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of
that
fun.
was a very, very respectable fish there. 100%. I'll take that any day.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, no doubt. That was really cool. That was a lot of fun to be a part of. Just that chaos, 4 people in the boat, big fish gets hooked up. It's always fun. A lot of just anarchy going on. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, Saturday, we glad we brought Clayton along and glad he hopped in the boat with us because he was kind of the ringer. He stuck another one that day. So we ended up having a 4 fish day, which was great. I mean, just a blast. But I gotta know, Clayton, that was your one full day with us with Brian in the boat. What was it like fishing with a young Mr. Brian Eckel?
You have a lot of stories about Brian. I don't know if he was just on his best behavior or what was going on, but he didn't seem nearly as bad as y'all make it sound like whenever you talk to me off the camera.
He must have been then. He wasn't in his giddy mood the rest of the weekend. It was just three of us.
He was
Yeah,
the
I
I don't know.
best.
heard things got really weird after I left, but we'll leave the details out of that one.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
asleep at the wheel a few times, but no, he's the best. It's always fun sharing the boat with him. But yeah, Saturday concluded. We had to say sayonara to Clayton.
Friday.
It's Friday. Had to say bye to Clayton. Sayonara to Clayton. He had some guiding duties the next few days, so it just ended up being you, Brian, and I, Gus, in the boat. And yeah,
Yep.
weekend continued. A lot of fun. We actually, funny enough, Nick Ambrose, who's kind of just popping on, smiling and waving at us and stuff. He
Hi,
gave us
Nick.
the hi, Nick. He gave us the nudge to go try out an area that we ended up starting on Saturday morning. Really
Hmm.
cool little body of water. I mean, super, super cool. Did not, when we rolled in there, I was not, didn't have high hopes after seeing how clear the water was and everything like that. But man, did that end up being a pretty fun little eventful morning.
Yeah, that sure did. We didn't really know what. I just know I've talked to Nick a little bit about it on Nick's got a bucktail stuck to his hat. And so for everybody that
Nope. Sorry.
can't see.
Sorry, guys. There's distractions, but Nick just got a banger in his head. No big deal.
No
We'll do
biggie.
surgery on that in a minute.
There you go.
Nice. Yeah, Nick gave the tip on this like he caught a nice one there a few years ago and kind of just I don't know, gave us the extra nudge to go try it to explore. That was kind of the point of a lot of the weekend, I think we got one of Clayton's fish was in a very relatively new spot to me and I think maybe Clayton too. But otherwise the other spots we fished and we kind of knew would hold some fish, maybe not always like that caliber, but definitely good to see. And then we wanted to go to this new lake and it was clear water and yeah, there's great cabbage all around most of the lake. So we just kind of started going around in a circle. It was early morning. Started out with mostly topwater bucktail diving rise or something. And we worked inside weed edges and very shallow and all but maybe a pike or two hit or boated. I can't remember. We didn't see nothing. And we're like, all right, we probably should move to the outer weed edge because this is very clear water and we fished pretty dang shallow. And as soon as we moved out there, then Max had one rifle in after singing whatever song you were singing. We'll leave that one out even though we have it on film. But
Yeah, we don't need
raised
to
that
talk
little
about that.
whippersnapper, came in hot off on like a bowfin, I think, flew away. And then as I'm casting off the back, I think it came up and tried to eat the Cannonball Jr. or Dr. Evil or Fat Bastard. I can't remember what I was using. And we're like, all right, we'll put a pin in that and come back to that one later. And then we roll down the spot, have another one side imaged and casted that one. Brian, I saw the tail end of it and I thought it was a pretty darn good one. It might have been the one that we ended up catching and it wasn't quite as big as we thought. But we turned around and I think we were waiting for maybe a moon phase or something. And then Max, I don't know if you want to tell a story about the first one caught and how the old 2-hole Brian special came about for that one.
No, it's good. Especially like if you're fishing on smaller bodies of water, it feels really easy to break them down pretty quickly. We kind of checked the shallow stuff, wasn't working. Like you said, had some small pike action, so it kind of gave us the nudge to try something else. And then it was just like nice to get that immediate feedback right away. Like, oh, okay, there are muskies in here, and Nick wasn't just playing a like terrible, practical joke on us or something like that. And yeah, it was that same fish came screaming in on a bucktail. I did miss it in the 8. I don't know if it really ever, well, definitely didn't ever get steel. That was kind of a common theme for me over the entire weekend, was just having some interesting luck in the figure 8. But yeah, I missed it in the figure 8, and as I'm like lamenting about missing it in the figure 8, I like grab the hook sharpener, start sharpening the bucktail as you were like, "Oh my God, the fish is still around, like it's coming up on my top water." I'm like, "Oh, fucking course, like this fish is still active and wants to eat." And you're fishing 3 in the boat, so you're not trying to like cast over people's lines and stuff. At this point, I kind of felt like I already had my shot at the fish and screwed it up. I'm watching Gus try to figure 8 at the fishes and eating his top water. So lo and behold, Brian tosses out the single 8 bucktail, and what do you know? That fish just turns around and absolutely smacks it as he's
Oh
bringing
yeah.
it in. So,
Inhaled it before the figure 8. So
right. So Brian just had the magical bait on at that time that got the job done, which was great. So he kind of kicked things off, and then we figured we were in a little bit of a window. So that fish that potentially we had moved prior, we went back right on that one. And again, same shit. I mean, Gus, if you want to tell it, but felt almost identical to your big one as far as how it all went down.
yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not really sure if it ended up being the same one. I swear after side imaging it and Brian brought it to the boat, but I only saw the tail flash at the end. I thought it was bigger. Maybe not. Clearwater is kind of deceiving, honestly. So we'll just say it was the same fish and And I was definitely oversizing it to begin with. But yeah, we kind of roll into the bay that the wind was blowing in, and we go past the waypoint of that fish and just nothing. And we're gonna keep going on the outside weed edge. And Max is like, "Well, why don't we just go fish in the bay? I know we already fish shallow, but might as well just see what the depth is. Maybe Navionics is wrong or something like that." And we just wind drift in, and I think I was looking back at the footage. I was casting towards shore, casting towards shore. I take one cast out away from shore so I don't have another one in the line of where you guys are casting since we're rolling in shallower into the bay. And I'm just standing there, maybe waiting for my next cast, and I look clear as day. Side image, same thing. See the line, the big shadow on the outside. And I go, whoa, 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 what is that? I mean, Max and Brian already casted right over it. I know for sure one of them is using a bucktail, maybe both, at this point, just
I
because
was
of
throwing
how,
top water.
yeah, top water. So top water bucktail, and I'm throwing a husky deuce. I figured if they're fired up and we're going after what I thought was a much larger fish, I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna try a husky deuce. I've only lost one fish, caught a couple pike on it, and barely ever used it. We got it last year, barely ever used it, and I just wanted to give it a shot. So I huck it out there, and even though it's going right over probably the fish's head, I'm always thinking just like, there's no way it's gonna eat, right? And then it crushes it. And decleats me, takes me off my feet on that one. I was standing with my feet too close together, and as soon as I set the hook, both of my feet come up. I go into the old power stance as I set the hook. Basically set itself. I think it hit so hard and
Hmm.
ate it and started thrashing the other direction right away. And that was a good one. That was a quick little good double in the mid early morning to get that day rolling on a brand new lake again for us, and a whole bunch of confidence to just keep on going
Yeah,
and
I think
trying
the
new things.
main takeaway there, right, was we had just rolled into that mid-morning major. Right after we'd caught the fish, pretty much our attention turned to the other one that we had moved because it was like, all right, well, if the window's open, let's just get right back onto that spot where we moved that fish. So I think the thing that I kind of took away from that, I mean, obviously, most of the people that are listening to this kind of probably have the same game plan when that happens or know that. But for maybe the people that are newer to musky fishing like that, that really seems to be a good way to like find a couple bites in a short amount of time. Is like if you have another fish pegged, the window's open, just go right to
Hmm.
that next fish that you had up
Yep.
and especially if it's in a close, short distance away. Obviously, it's pretty easy for us to do that, but being on the smaller system. But yeah, I mean that was really cool. And the last fish of that day, well, it shouldn't have been the last fish of that day, but the last fish of that day was pretty funny. Is you were kind of going through a code red emergency, um, and ended up catching a fish that I don't think I've ever seen you so like. I don't even know how to explain it, but if you want to talk about it, you can. It's just
I
funny.
mean, maybe the enthusiasm wasn't there because my mind was in a whole different world of demons, hurt, pain, code red, as they say, must need piss stop. As Phil Sedola puts it, the breakfast burritos just didn't sit right that morning or something or whatever. And I'm out there and I was kind of holding it in for a while, and eventually I'm like, my God, this is just gotta, like, we gotta do something. I know we're gonna, leave and go to lunch here soon, but like I don't know if I can make it then. We gotta go. I gotta go to the bathroom, and I'm chucking the big Cannonball Junior. I chucked it most of that morning, honestly. If I wasn't throwing a Cannonball Junior, I was throwing the Husky Deuce. I just really, really we're doing new water. I really wanted to get fish on new baits too. Baits I've never caught fish on, and such a juicy day. Just low hanging clouds, no sun whatsoever, mist on and off. And we were confused on why they wouldn't, other than that one, fish that was going nuts that we ended up catching that kind of hit a top water but didn't get hooks. We were having zero action on top water, and I was just expressing verbally that if I need to set the hook on a fish, I'll probably shit my pants or take a dump or whatever I said. It was just freaking stupid. I was just talking stupid. And I say that as I'm casting and bait hits the water and I don't know what you guys say again. You say something like, "Oh, do it for the content," and Max is like, "Do it for the pod," and I'm like, "Dude, I don't know, I don't wanna." And then boom, a freaking fish hits way out there, and I set the like literally. We'll probably put that video out here shortly, honestly, because it's so dang funny. And and I'm like, "Oh my God, I got one," and I'm like, "We got that on recording." This is
It was
too
a
com.
quick unhook net, get it back in the water. Nice fish, mid upper 30s fish. And then it was like, all right, we got to go. We got to get out of here.
I no, the bite window is going. You guys really kept me there. We finished the spot, and I was the
Oh, that's
one
right.
like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
we
the
did.
one like, dudes, like this is now like 7 out of 10. This is like 9.8 out of 10. We have to go now.
Yeah. It's bad when you can't run to the bathroom. You still got to walk. All right. Let's
So
I
I,
mean yeah. I mean I guess the way to end
oh my
Saturday
God.
is that we fished a while, the bite window kind of shut down and we put in a few hours there, had a few lazy action, and then the bite window kind of reopened up again right at sunset. And unfortunately, like we had mentioned previously, Brian was asleep at the wheel a little bit and he started throwing like a 12-inch bobby bait, just because he got it at a muskie show, and he's like, "Oh, I got to get my money's worth and use it or whatever." And yeah, he got rocked on that thing a few a few different times that night. I think there was one hit that almost took the rod out of his hands, and he's just
Oh,
so nonchalant, like, "Oh shit, that just happened." And
it's also
so yeah,
after that, I was dead quiet and he I don't know what he was doing. I think he said he was putting the rod under his like armpit or between his legs and then dropped it. And I just heard the clank of the rod and him just like fumbling to the rod and I almost see him like go in the water. He
he
grabs the
just
rod,
falls
stands up,
down,
and
eats shit.
I'm like, dude, what the hell was that? He's like, I don't know what's going on. So
Yeah. Oh, Clayton's back. Hey, Clayton.
Hey, I've been listening the whole time, just been trying to pack.
Oh, no, you're good. We were just talking about Brian being asleep at the wheel a little bit, which can happen after a day and a half straight of musky fishing. It
Yeah.
understandable. So yeah, no clue what those fish were like, but would have been nice to see. But yeah, let's just kind of quickly wrap things up here. Sunday, totally bottom dropped out. Clouds started to dissipate, sun came out, pressure was rising, it was cold, brisk north wind. Wind kind of picked up pretty good. And
hmm
man, I mean, takeaway from that day was single eight. Really started our day off kind of like pattern changed. I mean, the previous few days, like Gus was talking about, it was big blades, big rubber. Like Clayton mentioned, he was throwing the big banger from Hunty Tails, and the other fish came on some bigger stuff. So that day I decided that the conditions didn't really warrant the bigger stuff, and I was in the front of the boat at this point, still hadn't caught a fish on Friday or Saturday. So I was going through my own little mini slump, and I threw on that little single eight bucktail, the rabid squirrel from Musky Mayhem, and instantly started to move fish when I put that thing on. And you know in no time, finally got one that stretch. And that was nice to kind of get the day started there. So yeah, single eight bucktails, cold fronts. I mean, tails old as time.
right. No, that was perfect call. I think I might have started the day with either like a dive and rise or maybe Brian did, and I was kind of switching to smaller rubber. I figured maybe, I mean, with the amount of fish we were finding and when we found fish and how active they were and how the fish were eating for us and how many fish other people were catching, we're like, this has got to end eventually. These fish are going to get grumpy. These fish are going to become full. Like we got to like start downsizing eventually, right? And definitely was the key there on that morning. You moved a couple nice ones, like you said. Caught the small one on the single eight rabbit squirrel with mayhem, and that was kind of our morning successes. It was Sunday. It was a short day, and we even got up probably a good hour and a half later than normal. Hour, somewhere
Yeah,
between there.
we needed some sleep. Real quick, Clayton and Nick, what are your favorite cold front baits? Bait. Just give me one. Good cold front bait.
Well, what's cold from? What time of year?
August, right
August.
now, late August.
I got two: top water and double eights.
Old
Okay.
double eights. Prop style
Double
top,
eights.
or is that what you prefer?
Prop style. Well, yes, prop style for the most part.
Small or big?
You're asking too many questions again.
Come on, spill the beans.
It all depends on what you're fishing, though. Like when you ask prop style, if I'm fishing lily pads, I'm gonna want to walk the dog bait. But if I'm gonna fish just open water like weeds, I'm gonna want a prop style. But I generally like to go with the size of the fat bastard or a pacemaker is probably my favorite, actually.
Nice.
Hmm.
Perfect. So like
Nice.
a moderate-ish sized or so.
Mm-hmm.
Walk the dog in the
Nice.
lilies. I like that.
Well, I
That's
might just let it
badass.
think it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. The secret's out. Clayton, what about you?
I'll probably just pack up and go home. I don't do very good in cold fronts.
Dang, come on. Yeah,
No,
you
well, in recent years, I would have to say the Chaos Naven probably would be like number one, and still hammering fish on tubes, even during cold fronts in August, would be the usual. This year, I haven't gotten as many on tubes, but it's coming very soon. I'm thinking at some point I'll maybe start catching them on it. I'm gonna keep trying till I do.
Me too. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this year in tubes, but they are not going hand in hand, and it's weird and kind of throwing me in a loop on how many fish, so many fish coming on bulldogs and medusas this year in our boat, and I think it's relatively the same for you. I know that we both share our frustrations on tubes. I'd say that is a cold front killer. Other than Max already expressed it, the single bladed bucktails I think can be very good.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know. I don't throw too many single blade bucktails. As once like midsummer hits, if things are really bad, you will see me probably do it. I suppose that would be like a major fallback, like when all else fails, the single blade's gonna get it done. But I'm gonna throw. I'll probably go to a supermodel, honestly, and just slow roll it, which sounds really retarded, but like I would honestly grab that before I grab a single blade, just because of my enjoyment for whatever reason of throwing something that pulls hard. I guess I'm strange, but
Yes.
that's the way that I would go first.
No, it doesn't sound stupid. I know going big definitely works. Max, you're muted by the way. There you go.
Nice.
And
I just say I felt weird throwing the single blade. I haven't thrown a single bladed bucktail in a while. It was just calling my name. But yeah, I kind of felt like a pussy, but that's all right.
yeah. But also and the spinner baits too. We'll kind of rope this into that. That might be a new cold front possible killer. Brian threw that on and on Sunday. We'll continue going on Sunday and I think a drop tine growler. So another single eight, nothing, no tandem spinner.
I
Raised
will
this
100%
fish
agree
that
with
was
you on that
just
one,
looked
Tom.
super long. And at least I got a really good visual of it when he brought this fish up to the boat when it was just Max, Brian and I. And it went around like 4 times. So, like reading the fish, like this fish was pretty active. We knew the same thing as that bigger one from Friday. Like we got watch our moon phase here before we go. We're kind of on crunch time. We probably only had 2 hours before we had to get back to launch for
Maybe.
you to go on your way and Brian to go on his way and head back home, and we just went to fish one, maybe two spots, one large spot maybe, I think. I know we didn't go very far. And we figured to go, we raised at the beginning of the major and we didn't want to go, or maybe like close to peak potentially.
It
And we didn't want to
Either
go
way,
right.
we just kept a good eye
Yeah.
on it. We didn't want
We,
anybody else to
yeah.
move in on it, and we were just keeping a
Right.
close eye on the spot. We didn't go too far.
But we didn't want to go, we didn't want to give it like 5 minutes. We wanted to give it a good, I think, half hour or 45 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And the wind was blowing on the spot nice. We go back there. We kind of roll in with, I think Brian upsizes. He goes to the big O's. I'm still rocking a mid Deusa. Maybe I went to reg. Maybe I upsized two. And I think Max, you're throwing the single eight, and we roll around on the one side of it. Don't see it. Roll around to the other side. Don't see it. And Max with the single eight. All these floating weeds are blown in here. And I don't think you got many more than 50, 60% of your casts. We're all just weeded up with junk on the line and never blades engaging correctly. And I could see her frustrations and I just blurted out loud. I'm like, yo, dude, if you're gonna get frustrated, just freaking throw something else. I mean, I know they were going on single eights this morning, but I don't know, just toss something, pull pause and you go grab. I don't know, did you rig up the pit bull or was it already rigged up?
Bull.
Yeah, you rigged it up.
Yeah.
I can't remember either. And we go to wind drift over it to cast over this fish for the third time already. You know, we never side image it or nothing on those first two. You know, after going back on this fish, so we're like, screw it. You know, we might as well now. The major's about to end. It's probably when it's going to eat or should eat. And your first cast with the pit bull, you go tight. What looked like damn near a snag on the bottom, and then followed by some pretty dang crazy head shakes.
Yeah, the fish went nuts. I will say, man, there's just nothing better in this world than just getting rocked on rubber. It's so
Hmm. Amen.
it's so nice. It
Yeah.
makes me happy. Yeah, great fish. Nice mid 40s, Wisco, greeny in the bag. My nicest one so far on the year. So I was smiling ear to ear. Couldn't have been happier. Getting it done right at the last, like right at the bell, right at the closing dinner bell. You know, I was
Hmm.
staring down the barrel of a 4.5 hour car ride, and man, was I not ready to be done with the weekend. So to be able to top it off with that was pretty sweet. I was pretty jacked up.
Yeah, that was about half hour before we had to go. I think we maybe hit one and a half more spots, finished that spot, and went and hit one more before you guys had to head out. So I mean, man, what a way to cap off on Bender weekend between Thursday night and Sunday by noon-ish, 30 or whatever. Maybe one had 11 fish in the bag and two over 45 is pretty damn awesome. Um, very, very successful. And over half of that was all brand new water, brand new areas, new baits, like I was saying. Um, just a lot of fun sharing the boat with you, Max and Brian and Clayton. And unfortunately we didn't get Nick out there. We will get in the boat with Nick here this fall.
Yeah, needed a good old fashioned Operation Doki send sometime this fall. Real quick before we sign off here, Nick, you're getting ready to go there. What's your thoughts on Tonka? Give me the quick debrief here.
Well, my plan is not to catch any pre-fishing because normally we do better during tournaments that way.
Okay, all right, good strategic effort there. No fish during pre-fishing. Save them all for the tournament.
I'm just gonna put this out there already. I'm gonna get made fun of for it, but there is a spinning rod in the boat ready to go for walleye.
Oh, I hope you weren't gonna say that.
That dirty dog.
I
Just
can't
what
believe
your
he's gonna
tournament,
do that.
just what your tournament partner wants to hear.
You're gonna like it when you have dinner.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I'm all for it. But yeah, no, really, really fun weekend. Looking forward to seeing all you guys here in the cities tomorrow. Safe travels, and Gus, Clayton, if you guys want to take us away here with some guide info, and then Nick, let us know about your baits, man. They've been catching some freaking fish.
Yeah, they have actually. My buddy just got back from Canada, and they got, I believe, a 47 and a 41 on it.
Nice.
On the glide bait that you make, right? The
Yep,
fill.
on the fill.
Yep. Fill glide.
And I know there's a few other fish that they caught on recently too. I cannot think of it.
Well, that's all
Nice.
right. Fish are being caught on
Well,
He's officially got a booth at the Wisconsin Muskie Expo in March of this
Yeah, I
coming
just
spring.
checked
So,
that yesterday.
yes,
everybody
sir.
come to the expo and check his stuff out.
at
It's sweet.
Wisconsin Musky Expo, Wausau, March 2025.
Cedar
Yeah.
Hammer
Creek.
Customs.
They're awesome. They catch fish. All right, Clayton, where can people find you if they want to try to get out with you this fall here?
Sure, they can just give me a call or shoot me a text, 715-891-1046. I have Facebook, Instagram. I got a YouTube channel for fun, nothing major. Shoot me a message on any of those too. You know, I got quite a bit of openings coming up in the fall. Haven't really booked up too much there yet. So some prime dates are still available. If you think you're coming up, if you got a big group, we can probably do a couple boats. If it's just a small group or whatever, yeah, I'd be more than happy and excited to get you out. So the fish are going pretty good right now, and we're gonna stay on them until
Right on.
ice up.
When's the Vermilion videos dropping? Everybody wants to see the Vermilion videos, especially me.
No, those
I think
well,
just
yeah,
yeah.
Jamie and Kyle keep bugging me too, but they know how busy things are.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It's gonna be. I want to do those right. Those are gonna be pretty special. So
Sweet.
I definitely don't want to do like an overnighter and just bang them out. I'm gonna take my time with those, so they'll be out this
Sweet.
winter.
Sure. Sure.
Good
Sweet.
call. Yeah, you'll have some awesome stuff this winter. I know you'll be going to Canada early September. Your Canadian videos from last year are amazing. The Lake of the Woods trip. You have a
Thank
video
you.
for every single day because of how many fish you guys put in the bag.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But yeah, thank you for coming on, Clayton. You can get a hold of me and my guide service is at Suggs Fishing. She's on Instagram, Facebook. Add me as a friend, Gus Manty. You can find all my info and number and everything on website, which is www.sugsfishing.com. SUGS fishing. Get out in the boat. Let's go after some muskies. I'll be hitting them right until ice up as well. We'll be staying on them. Like Clayton said, if you got a big group, Clayton and I, and even another boat or two, or however many people you got, if you have a big group, more than happy to take everybody out and accommodate that. Those are always for sure a ton of fun. We enjoy doing those. And yeah, we don't have Brian here to take us away, unfortunately. He was part of the Bender weekend and everything, and unfortunately he did get caught up with late asking at work. He wasn't able to make it, which is a bummer, and this is the only night that we could all record and get it out in time so we can get it out before Minnetonka. But I don't know if you guys got anything else to add here, but I think we can sign off and catch you guys later.
Nick's got
Nick's-
one quick sign off yet here. What's he got to say?
Let's hear it.
Keeper greased.
What did he
Did you
say?
catch that? Keeper
No.
grease.
Keep. All right, everybody. Keep her greased.